What up, and welcome back to First Strike. We missed you guys. Hope you had a great holiday weekend. We did a little special First Slice to talk about some NFL, but we are back to First Strike here. UFC 310, just a couple of weeks left in the 2024 calendar year. And they stacked this card up, boys. What a great event we're going to have here. I know Jim's going to Vegas. Can't wait to hear about that trip here. But I've got MMA Jeff, Subhuman Gaucho, Fanatical Jim. The First Strike 4 are back and ready for more. And it's going to be a lot of fun talking about the games that we have broken down for you guys here. The fights to get us paid. Early best bets to try to beat the books. MMA Jeff, UFC 310. You ready to rock?
I'm excited. We got 14 fights pending the weigh-ins, but all these fighters seem to be professional. I think they'll all make it. So I'm jacked up. I think the fight makers did us a favor on this one. I'm looking forward to it.
Should be a great card. Subhuman Gaucho, I see you're rocking the Red Wings cap.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you feel about this UFC card?
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. It's a pretty solid fight card, top to bottom, I think. We got old gloves back. Last pay-per-view of the years. So, hopefully see a bunch of violence.
Fanatical Jim is the flamethrower, torches these bookies, and he's been benefiting from it here, coming back from a little family vacay, going on another vacay out there to watch this UFC 310. Fanatical Jim, I hope you brought the goods for us here tonight. How's your vacation? How you feeling about your upcoming Vegas trip?
Oh, doing well, Mike. Vacation was good. It's good to recharge the batteries, have a good Thanksgiving. I did skip PFL Dagestan, whatever that card was, and wanted to focus on UFC 310. And you're right. I will be in Vegas really for two guys. One guy I'm breaking down. The other guy, Bryan Battle, who I've mentioned numerous times on this stream. I think I'm going to be meeting him. So I have a sports money potentially interview lined up for
Nice.
that. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, looking forward to that trip. Wheels up in about 12 hours. Landing in on a Thursday, we'll stay for the fights, trying to make the most of it and trying to cash this card. So looking forward to breaking it down with you guys.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate you taking the time here in between the stop and go that is the hectic lifestyle of a guy that cashes nonstop and Fanatical Jim. It's going to be a lot of fun to talk about this card. So let's get into it, boys. Without further ado, Jeff's going to kick us off, and he's taking a little Durden Van spot here. Looking forward to hearing the breakdown, Jeff. Let's get to it, my friend.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one. We got Van coming in the UFC hot with a 4-1 record. He's 11-2 as a pro at just 23 years old. The kid shows a lot of potential. He's a solid volume striker with great takedown defense. He's got excellent cardio as well. He's a young kid, so why shouldn't he? He bounced back after the KO loss to Charles Johnson. Followed that up with a unanimous decision win to Charez. You got Durden on the other hand. He's a mediocre 17-6, which I don't want to say is mediocre, but he's fought some solid competition. He's a slightly taller fighter. I think he's going to look a lot bigger given the fact that Van is the smallest fighter in the division. He might even be the smallest fighter in the UFC as a male. But Durden, he's a solid grappler with a powerful right hand. At 33 years old, he recently got himself, I think he's ranked number 14. He got himself into the rankings. He ended up missing weight in that fight. And he still ended up getting fight of the night with a ninja choke over Schnell. I think the matchmakers, as I said, they did us a great deal of favors here with all these fights, but especially this one. I see Van coming in as the aggressive fighter here, throwing a lot of volume, trying to overwhelm Durden. Durden ultimately, as we know, he likes to shoot for takedowns. I see Durden eventually. Van's takedown defense is fantastic. So I do see him blocking a couple of them, maybe getting a couple of shots in there. But ultimately, Durden, I believe, is going to take him to the mat. If they stand and bang, it's definitely going to favor Van. I think Durden's fight IQ, and he's too much of an experienced fighter to allow that to happen. I think he's studied some tape. He's got his game plan together, and I think his game plan is going to be take him down, get him down however you can, grab the back. If Van shoots a limb or his neck out there, let me tell you, you better watch out because Durden will grab it, and he will finish this fight by submission. But I like the dog here. I think there's a lot of value with him at 33 years old in his prime. Give me the dog at plus 130. Let's go. Sub's going to bring us up to the main card with Smith and Reyes. Sub, I'm interested to see how your breakdown goes on this one. What do you think?
All right. Well, thank you, Jeff. I'm really looking forward to that bantamweight battle. Appreciate the breakdown there. I got some angles on that fight that I am ready to attack come Saturday. In the meantime, Dominick Reyes, Anthony Smith. This is an interesting fight for a bunch of reasons in my mind. Both these men, once upon a time, were title challengers and really fallen off quite a bit. Probably. As the line indicates, I do think Anthony Smith has fallen off more, but, Reyes was a plus 200 dog in his last fight against Dustin Jacoby. That was the first time he has looked himself in a while, and I didn't even think he looked particularly good in that fight. You go back to his title challenge against John Jones. At that point, he was undefeated in his career at 12-0. Loses a close fight to John Jones. Probably could have even scored it for him. A lot of people thought he won that fight. Since then, 3 straight losses, all by KO before he got back on track against Jacoby. And that's one of the angles that I really like in this one. I think both of these men are capable of being KO'd. I think they're both a little long in the tooth, not especially old, 34 and 36 years old for Reyes and Smith respectively, but we've really seen Reyes' chin look like it's gone to dust at certain points throughout his career here. Bad knockout against Yuri Prohaska. It's a highlight reel everybody remembers. Anthony Smith, on the other hand, you want to talk about long in the tooth. I mean, this guy has 57 professional fights. It's just an astounding record. And, as I said, he once upon a time was a title challenger. I don't really put him up in that top upper echelon, I guess, anymore. With that many fights, you start to wear down. He's a tough dude, combat veteran. Obviously, he loves to fight, but I think he's coming to the end of his career here. So the way I'm looking at this, I really like the under 1.5. I'm going to play things a little bit safer, and fight doesn't start round 3 as a minus 125. I might even end up laddering it down. I could see it ending in the first. I could see it ending early in the second. But, in the end, I do think that Reyes is the one that gets it done. I think he's got the better hand speed. He's ultimately got more power, although I think Smith's got power in his own right. And I think this one is going to stay on the feet. Anthony Smith can be wrestled. His jiu-jitsu is very good, but I don't think that Reyes will wrestle him. And I don't think that Smith has the wrestling in him to ground the fight against Reyes. So I think we see a standing battle here, and I think somebody gets knocked out early. Just statistically speaking, you've got a ton of first-round finishes for these two men. As I was saying, Smith with a ton of fights. He's got 34 finishes throughout his career, and 30 of them have come in rounds 1 or 2. Reyes has won 10 of his 13 fights by finish, all in round 1. So I'm looking for some early violence here. And just one last thing before we pass things over to Mike here. Anthony Smith recently lost a friend of his. Sad story and whatnot. Out of respect for his privacy, we don't need to go too hard into it, but he's been saying some weird things. I don't think his headspace is right. He's been saying some very odd things at the presser. I'm not going to quote him directly, but John Attic, a friend of his, was even saying that he didn't think Anthony Smith was going to take this fight, that he expected him to pull out, that Anthony Smith was in the worst mental state he'd ever seen him in. So just from a narrative perspective, I do think that Anthony Smith has probably had a rough training camp. He's probably going to come in a little bit less sharp than he would otherwise. And, he might wilt under the pressure here once Reyes starts putting it on him. So all that said, give me some violence in rounds 1 or 2. And we're going to pass it on to Mike here. Got a featherweight bout between Movsar Evloev and Aljamain Sterling. Where do you want to go on this one, Mike?
Here we go, boys. Shout out to Fanatical Jim. He always talks about the potential gloves down in the ring after the fact here. I think Sterling might be on alert. He's got a 24-4 MMA record, 16-4 in the UFC. But look, it's all or nothing for this guy. He loses to Sean O'Malley in the featherweight battle, and the belt gets taken away Obviously, we're seeing this thing changing hands like a hot potato since then. And on the other side of things, Evloev coming in this thing, moving up to featherweight, and a 1-0. He's 18-0 in his MMA career, 8-0 in his UFC nonstop killer. 38 takedowns in his last 8 fights. And the thing that got me with this one here, I maybe pay a little too much attention to some of the pre-round stuff here, especially when it comes to the weigh-ins. And I'm going to take you guys inside this weigh-in battle with this one here. Some back and forth. Sterling starts accusing Evloev of using steroids. His response is, if you had proof, show it to me. He takes it a step further. He must have had a Russian friend or something. Found a way to get the intelligence here. So like a WhatsApp for Russians and translating, sending derogatory messages to this guy all camp. And meanwhile, the other side of things, Evloev is saying, all you've done is pull out of these fights here. It's been a year since I fought. He's already talking about the next guy up. And this guy is managing his UFC career really like the best of them out there, talking about where he's going next. We've seen M1 global guys have had a lot of success when it comes to the UFC. And this card, UFC 310, is loaded with that effect. When I look at the fight itself, what do we know about these guys? Well, we know Evloev, he can get the ground, he can ground, and he can certainly do the things there technically when it comes to wrestling. He's got a unique striking approach as well. And we know Sterling, he'll go to the ground and he'll just backpack you. He doesn't care. He's a very offensive guy. He wants to go out there. And I think there's two things here. Boom or bust for Sterling. He either wants to go out there and finish Evloev and try to get a shot to get that title back, or he gets his ass kicked and he goes and puts the gloves in the middle of the ring. And I think that offensive nature is going to challenge this guy because Evloev, he can play both ways. He don't care. He'll ground and pound. He'll wrestle. He'll strike. He's a great striker. He likes to go out there. He likes to be aggressive. He likes to kind of give you the early pop, and then he gives you the leg kick and takes you down. Again, those 38 takedowns in 8 fights to me is going to be the difference here. And I'm going to go big, boys. I'm taking the swing with this one. Nighty-night, get your gloves out, put them in the ring after you're done. Evloev talked about this in the camp. They were looking at doing something special. They found the weakness with Sterling, and they're going to try to exploit it. We're going to go inside the distance with Evloev. It's going to be a big swinger at plus 400. I don't know if it's KO or submission. My gut tells me they're going to find a way with, we see a spot where Sterling wants to take him to the ground and tries to backpack him, and he does something stupid, and all of a sudden he exposes the neck, and Evloev can find a way to sub him. But I'm going to go inside the distance. This one does not see decision. I know you look at this thing, you say, well, Mike, Evloev's a decision machine. He's come into the UFC and decision. But I think this is special. I think he's got that eye on him where he wants to go out there. This guy, 36 years old in Sterling, going to be vulnerable. And, we're going to see the Russian come out on top of this thing here. It's going to be a finish. It's UFC 310. They want to see bangers. They want to see special fights, maybe a fight of the night opportunity. Probably going to see a lot of blood in the ring on this one. But it's going to be Evloev that comes out on top of this thing with the inside the distance battle at plus 400. And we're going to give it to Fanatical Jim to bring us home. He's going to Vegas. He's looking forward to this fight. I can't wait to hear him break it down for us. Jim, let's talk about how we're getting to victory here. Rakhmonov battle. The floor is yours, my friend. Talk to it.
Well, thanks, Mike. And like I mentioned, there's 2 fighters on this card I was looking forward to. One was Battle. The other one is right here with Shavkat. You have Shavkat versus Garry. Originally, it was Shavkat versus Bilal. Then people don't know, but it was actually Shavkat versus Carlos Pratis, which would have been incredible. But Pratis was injured. And now it's Garry, which is still incredible. You have 2 undefeated fighters. And while I was on vacation, I had a chance to listen to some social media, some podcasts out there of different people breaking down fights. And there's a big narrative here of training partners and sparring, and the fact that Shavkat was easily getting Garry down in training sessions and subbing him and things like that. And because of that, Shavkat by sub, right? That's got to be the play. So do me a favor. If you listen to people like that, pause this video, go to them, unsubscribe, come back, hit the like button, and then hit play again. Because I will never recommend listening to somebody cap that way. That's ridiculous. You can walk into a training session now and see somebody get subbed, and the next day that guy might be subbing the guy back. Like, it doesn't matter. It's training. It's hard sparring, training. None of that matters. Now, what does matter in those situations, that's two things. One, usually they train so much together, which the case here with Garry and Shavkat, they were almost daily partners. You get to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses, right? That's a big thing. You get to figure out, what does this guy like to do? What does this guy like not to? What does this guy not want to do? How can I exploit this thing, that thing, right? And you're also trying to better yourself as well. But that's what you're learning during that process. The other thing you're figuring out is, you happen to like the guy. You see him every day, right? You're training with him every single day. There is a camaraderie built with that. And we've seen it actually earlier today. Jeff shared a video of these guys and Shavkat and Garry in the hotel room or hotel lobby, hugging each other, shaking hands, kissing on the cheek and kissing each other in the mouth and whatever they're doing. It's like they are friendly with each other, right? There's not a lot of animosity going into this fight. So that's number two when I look at, training partners and things like that and what I want to take away from that. The third thing is Garry accepted this fight on very short notice, right? And what we've seen in the past with MMA in general, fighters on short notice, they tend to take the first couple of rounds to figure out, what is this guy going to do? What's the game plan here? You're not going to see one guy shoot across the cage like Superman trying to get a takedown, or the other guy, trying to punch the other guy's head off. No, this is a very strategic battle, right? They need to figure each other out. It's a whole fighting nerd style. Download data, process data, and then figure out a game plan as you move on. This is a 5-round fight, so that takes me to the over in this fight. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, easy submission, rounds 2, rounds 1. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is going to take a while. And like I said, there's not a lot of animosity here or motivation for either party to knock or sub each one out early. So that's the over. Now, I'm also on the side of Shavkat. So the play here is Shavkat money line and fight to start round 3. And that's even money at plus 100. I thought that was really good odds. Factoring that Shavkat is now closing in on a minus 450 in terms of money line. The reason why I'm at Shavkat is that if this fight stands up for 25 minutes, then Ian Garry has a shot. I just don't think it's standing up for 25 minutes. I think Shavkat at some point is going to take Ian Garry down. And once that happens, Shavkat is leagues better than Ian Garry. I do think Ian Garry has enough to prevent at least early submission attempts from Shavkat, but at some point, either Shavkat's going to get him late, or I actually don't mind the decision look here at plus 400. I think that might be a good look and something I may have as this gets closer to fight time. But for the purposes of the show, I am going to take Shavkat money line and pair that with the fight to start round 3. You can find that at FanDuel right now at plus 100. You may find a better line down the road as other books offer those types of parlays. But that's, I think that's a really good look to this fight in general. And I believe that Shavkat will have the edge over Garry when all things are over with, and Shavkat will eventually get that title shot that he deserves. So with that, we've had 4 incredible fights, Mike. So why don't we recap this and wrap this whole thing up?
Gentlemen, you always bring the goods. It's going to be a lot of fun. We get back to a numbered UFC event, and that is where we do it best. You guys are watching out there, make sure you do hit that thumbs up button and join us on Saturday. We're going to start about 30 minutes before the first fight and give you guys some breakdowns on the prelim. We'll talk about our best bets or favorite bets for the main card itself. But this has been a great night. You guys always come ready to go. Appreciate you taking that time. Jim, I hope you have a great time in Vegas. Hit me up. We can talk about that roulette strategy. And, of course, on behalf of MMA Jeff, Subhuman Gaucho, and Fanatical Jim, all of Sports Money, thank you guys for watching. Smash that thumbs up. And join us live on Saturday, 5:30 start. It's going to be a ton of fun. UFC is our bread and butter. That's where we make the cash, and that's where we're going to give it to you guys live. Appreciate you guys watching. See you soon.